Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to tonight's episode of Dogman Stories. I'm your host, Amanda Lawson, and for tonight's episode, we're going to continue our encounters by state. We'll be heading to North Dakota. So, without further ado, Dogman Stories. Baby Werewolf. The year was 2015, and I was out in my deer stand waiting peacefully. I hadn't seen any deer the entire season. Something just wasn't right. I've hunted in these woods for 20 years, and every season I bagged one, but not this season. I haven't even seen any signs of life. I had no idea what had happened. For some reason, I noticed the woods seemed different, as if they were cursed. I got an eerie vibe, but I just assumed it was my imagination acting out where I hadn't seen or heard anything. Sometimes there were squirrels in the tree next to me playing, and sometimes it was dead quiet. On one particular day, I loaded up my one-man cooler and a few blankets and a Walkman radio. Hell, I wasn't getting no action. I figured I might as well listen to some tunes while I was just sitting there staring out into space. I don't know why I continued to go out there every day. I guess because it had been my spot for so long, I just couldn't give up on it. I didn't want to miss them when they came back. Anyways, I loaded up my truck and set off to my area. I always parked about a mile from my area, even though I could drive right up to the stand. I was about a quarter of a mile away from my deer stand. Thankfully, I was feeling a little lazy that day. I unloaded my stuff and headed towards my blind. I got halfway there and I started feeling weird. I'm not sure how to explain it, except for the feeling you get when you're worried about walking up on a grizzly bear. That kind of feeling. I paid attention to my surroundings, but I didn't see or hear anything. So that eased my mind. I made it to my stand, got all my items up in my stand, got up there and got situated. 3 hours had passed with no action. I was sitting there staring into the woods with my eyes half open, half closed. Earlier I had been watching the squirrels run around on the ground playing, but they had disappeared now. All was silent. Very silent, actually. I started to get that grizzly bear feeling again. I heard leaves rustling a distance away, but I didn't see anything. I felt like someone was watching me, so I got my binoculars out and looked around, thinking another hunter was in the area. I looked for camo or orange. Nothing. I kept hearing crunching sounds and leaves rustling. I was kind of getting freaked out and very nervous. I really don't know why I felt this way. I hadn't seen anyone. About an hour later, my blood pressure had went down and I started to nod off. I started hearing scratching, like a bear scratching on a tree. I looked around. I didn't see anything, but I could still hear something scratching. I was looking down on the ground and I happened to see something out of the corner of my eye. Keep in mind, I'm 25 to 30 feet in the air, and I'm on a deer stand. So, I'm blended in with the brush, and I can't see behind me. And I thought nothing could see me. At least I thought. I was looking down on the ground, and I saw something. I wrapped my arm around the tree, stood up, and bent down over my stand, and there it was. It was under me. It was scratching on my tree. Apparently it came up behind the deer stand, so I never seen it coming. When I noticed it, it was scratching the tree as if it was going to claw the tree to the ground. I had my gun ready to shoot. I hollered at it to get. It just looked at me. I know we stared at each other for 2 minutes. I had no idea what I was looking at. But I know what it wasn't. It wasn't a bear. Black, brown, or grizzly. It wasn't a sloth. It wasn't a regular dog. Not a monkey. And not from the pictures I've seen. It didn't look like a Bigfoot. It looked like a werewolf. Later, I learned the term Dogman. It didn't look like a cheap horror movie werewolf. And after hours of research, it reminded me of the movie Van Helsing. I've heard this one used a lot on your show, so I checked it out, and it resembles the body and the head, but It's the closest thing I've come to looking at pictures, but the head is a little bit different. It was a mix between a chow and a German Shepherd, and it reminds me so much of what I saw that day. The movie does, of course. It had the chow hair, ears, and the fuzziness to it, with the German Shepherd snout. It was long. I was a bit nervous while looking at this animal. I had never seen one in all my years. According to the internet, they are all around, and just like any other animal, there are cases of them attacking humans. To me, it's no surprise that there have been animal attacks on humans from these animals. We are invading their space. We expect nothing to happen? I realize they do look scary, but at the same time, they resemble characteristics of dogs, cats, wolves, bears, and coyotes. I'm sure they bear pups. So I would assume, in most cases, people may have got too close to their homes, not realizing it, and the animal is just protecting their young. I watched this creature. It checked me out and ran around for about an hour. It was very unique. Don't get me wrong, I was afraid. I would be an idiot not to be. But I was more fascinated by what I was looking at. It stayed at the bottom of my stand for a while, scratching the tree. I knew I was not going to get a deer today. I didn't care. I'm not going to lie. The thought of shooting it did cross my mind. However, I'm not a trophy hunter. So, I felt that if I did not make a clean kill on the first try, I might be the one killed. Also, not knowing this animal, I have no idea where to even shoot to kill at. I really can't even tell you what I seen, except for it had a huge head, and it looked like a chow head, and the ears, with a German Shepherd face, long arms, short, stocky legs, hunched over. This guy's torso area was oddly slendered compared to the rest of his body. It looked as if it was starving. I threw it my sandwich from my cooler. That was a bad idea. It ate it in one bite, and it started to want to get closer. I gave it all I had. It ate all of it. And no, I didn't hand it the food. I tossed it down from the stand. The creature had an odd stench to it, almost like a burnt bean smell. It was a very odd smell. Its fur was multicolored to me, or it's possible it could have been where the sun was poking through the trees in the wood, and it was reflecting off of the fur. Bits and pieces of its body was brownish black with some reddish tips here and there, but not red, more of a orangey red, or more of a orangey brown. It was a weird color, and I think it was from the sun. The claws, I can tell you for sure, were freaky. They looked to be about 3.5 inches long, an inch wide, and he was scratching stuff like it was nothing. My biggest fear was he was going to climb the ladder to my stand. And so far, he hadn't even got close to it. But after I fed him, which I do not recommend, he started to climb up the ladder a little ways. I thought I was going to have to shoot him in the face. When his head poked up on my stand, I tried to nudge him down with the tip of my gun. He swiped at my gun, just like a bear. And just in the swipe, I could tell how strong this fellow was. He wasn't weak. I would say he was, if not stronger, he had the strength of a bear, which was good for the situation, but not for me. I don't know why I done it, but after he swiped at my gun, I kicked my one-man cooler at him, and I think he tried to catch it because he fell, and I heard a big thump, and when I looked down, he was eating my cooler. It's like a lunchbox. It has a zipper and everything, and after he didn't like the taste of it, he just tossed it to the side and started playing, I guess. He was rolling around, licking himself, chasing his tail, or at least I thought he was chasing his tail. Maybe he was trying to do something else, but that's what it looked like to me. And he was just jumping around, swiping at the leaves. He was just going crazy. And he didn't look angry. He kind of looked happy, which was really weird. And all of a sudden, there was a loud and long howl. It sounded pretty far off. I noticed it looked in the direction of the howl. Its ears was up, and it just took off. It didn't even look back. Honestly, I was kind of sad. I didn't have a camera or a phone. It was in the truck. But here I had sat here a pretty good while, interacting with a dogman, and I have no proof. Many have told me I should have shot it. But why? It wasn't hurting me. It wasn't bothering me. I don't need proof. I don't have to prove anything to anyone. You can believe it or not. It's your choice. I know what I saw. I'm not begging anyone to believe me, but I will tell you this. It was amazing. I think it was a juvenile because of how curious it was and how when the other one howled, it took off. Also, by the way it was playing, a female in most animals are always cautious and don't really interact. I mean, not to say it doesn't happen. It does sometimes, but just this creature's whole demeanor pointed to it being a male. Also, it wasn't huge compared to some encounters I've researched. It might have stood 5 feet if it had stood upright, but I only saw it standing 2 times. When it was climbing the ladder and scratching the tree under me, and I could not accurately tell how big it was from those experiences. One thing I do know, there is more than one out here. Not because I saw it, because I heard it. I think it was either mom or dad to this guy. And there's probably 3 because obviously, if you have a baby, usually there's a male and female involved. After it ran off on all 4, I sat there for about 10 minutes, then it hit me. What if it comes back with mom or dad? That won't be good. So I got down and I went to the truck and I got my phone out and sat there in the truck for about 30 minutes, waiting to see if it came back. It didn't. Why would it? Nothing happens when your camera's ready. I went home and I told my wife. She got me set up with all the research, and I've been following the subject ever since. I would like to thank all of you for taking the time out of your evening to listen to my encounter. My name is Sammy and I'm 46 years old. I'm in good health, no mental problems, no glasses or contact lenses. This encounter took place in North Dakota and I'm currently resided at the same residence and I hunt in the same spot that this encounter took place. And yes, I do hope it comes back because I have my camera ready. I did not misidentify this creature. It cannot be misidentified. However, some will try to discredit my story. That's why I have included my health status so everyone knows I can in fact see and I am not crazy. Thank you, Sammy, for that encounter of yours. Also, if you need anything or would like to talk to anybody, please feel free to comment below and answer any questions you'd like, Sammy. I'm sure all of the Dogman fans would love to hear from you. Okay, guys, I've got another encounter going on tonight, and this one is something we've already talked about before. A couple months ago, I did a show on a guy who had sold his home for practically nothing, and the real estate agent went to the home and she found a letter and it was describing events through the night. The man thought he was going to die because something was attacking the home, and come to find out it was an entire clan of what he described as werewolves. Apparently they've been in that area for many, many years. Well, this gentleman contacted me a few weeks ago. As all of you know, I am behind on my emails, so I'm just now getting to it, and I do apologize for that. And he wants to tell us his side of the story. And now this is a man who knows exactly who I'm talking about. How he knows, I have no idea. I guess maybe him and the guys got together. He knows the area. Anyway, he knows exactly who I'm talking about. So he does not have permission to tell all of the stories that he knows of, because apparently all the guys in this neighborhood, they were single guys. Maybe their wives had already left them, or moved on because they didn't like the house ahead of time. Men sometimes think, oh, well, you go ahead, I can take care of this. Well, not in this case. Well, anyways, all these guys hung out together, and apparently the one that sold the house to the real estate agent was the first one to leave the area. So he's going to tell us all about it, about his encounter at his house. Apparently these dogmen are no joke in that area. So let's listen to his story, and he's got so many stories. I'm going to tell you just one encounter tonight, and we're going to continue his story next week. So without further ado, Dogman Stories. Be careful where you move. Hi, I would like to remain anonymous. I was listening to a show of yours about a man who sold his home quickly to a real estate agent for hardly nothing. When she went up there to the home, she found a letter describing what many believed to be werewolves, although it wasn't exactly written. Well, I know exactly where you're talking about. I was a neighbor, and I want to tell you this area is no joke. I don't recommend moving up there. I have moved. I had to. They basically made me. Everyone has moved. We all had to. Before we got killed. Many of us have been attacked, but not killed yet. So, we all left. The man you speak of, who wrote the letter, was the first to leave. We all soon followed. I will tell you my encounter. Although I have many tales, I do not have permission from the rest of the guys to share their story. So here is my story. As soon as I moved in the home, something wasn't right. I could not put my finger on it, but I just knew something wasn't right. I assumed the house was haunted. It felt that way. I would soon find out. I had lived at the property for about a month, and every night around 11:30 I started hearing people run around outside. There should not be anybody around here. Each home is about 1 to 2 miles apart. I would walk out and shoot my gun up in the air and yell at them every night for months. Never seen them, but I could always hear them. Well, one night I did the same thing, go out, yell, and shoot. Well, I heard a yelp, like I shot a dog, and about the same time I started hearing heavy growling. It got louder and louder and louder. So I went in, shut the door, locked it, and started to run upstairs. I got to the top stair, and I heard a loud bang and then glass shattering. I thought someone shot my screen door or shot my windows. I ran back down. My heart was racing, and I tried to glance out a different window besides the one next to the door. Well, I seen something walking down the stairs. I thought maybe they had a fur coat on. And then I leaned in and I accidentally tapped the window, and it turned around and looked at me, and when it did, its eyes wasn't exactly glowing, but I could see the light from the outside light reflecting off the eyes. This was no human. This wasn't even close to a human. This was some type of creature in the night. Something bedtime stories. I don't know what it was. Only thing I knew is it scared the hell out of me. I backed up into the kitchen, thinking that maybe it didn't see me. Boy, was I wrong. Next thing I knew, I could see the silhouette right at the window where I was standing at. I heard growling again. I didn't know what to do. What was I going to do? Shoot through my window so it could get in? Really? That's not very smart. And I'm not that dumb. So I did the next best thing. I called the police. Of course, they came out there. They knocked on my door. They looked around, said it was just kids. But I noticed something very odd. One of the officers kept an eye out. Was always looking behind him. Didn't ever really look at me, just always looking around like he knew something was there that he wasn't telling me. I thought something was really odd about that, but I wasn't sure what to say to him. What are you going to say? Hey, man, what are you looking for? Yeah, that's not going to go over very well with the officer. Anyways, they left. Nothing happened that night. That was probably about 1:30, 2 o'clock by the time they left. I didn't really sleep much that night. So the next morning I got up when the sun come up. Didn't dare go outside at dark, not even in the morning time. And I got up and I walked outside, made sure nobody was waiting on me, not knowing what's out there. When I started to notice scratch marks all over the place. They were all over my car, all over the trees, the deck, the house, even on the ground like they were trying to dig under my house. What the hell is going on? I thought to myself, what is this? Well, my wife was there. This was before she left me. Because of these damn creatures. She said, I don't know what they are. Are you sure you didn't use the rake? Yeah, I got in a fight with the rake and it scratched up the house and the car and the trees and the whole yard. And then it tried to dig under the house, I told her. Being a smart ass, of course. I didn't know what to say. I was actually kind of scared. I knew what I had seen the night before was staring at me through the window. I'm glad the blinds were still there, although at any moment I felt like it was just going to bust right through that window. It done broke my glass door. Well, night come. Nothing happened that night. Months had went by and these people I thought were showing up every night. Except for this night. It was very odd. It kind of made me nervous. I wasn't sure what to think. So I went on to bed. We had a 2-story house. It was 2 stories, but technically, we only used 1 story because 1 story was a basement with no way in. And then the 2nd story was actually the living quarters and our bedroom and everything. Well, I was laying there in the bed and I heard something walking across the roof. And I just kept looking. And I'd hear it run from this side to that side, back over to this side, way down on this end, back to that end. I thought to myself, what in the world is running across the roof? Then it dawned on me, them damn creatures. Not daring to look out the window, thinking maybe one of them's running on the roof, so I'll stick my head out the window and the other one can just gash my eyes out. I didn't know what to do, so I sat there for hours listening to it. I was scared. I was beyond scared. I was terrified. Well, I guess I finally went to sleep because I woke up in the morning time. My wife was gone. I get up. I go outside. It's daylight. Don't ever go outside in the dark. My wife's standing out there. She's crying. I say, honey, what's wrong? And she points over to something in the yard, and it's white, and I remembered, oh, the cat's white. I go over there and look, and the cat's head has basically been ripped off. Like something just picked it up by its head and tail and ripped it apart. I knew what had done it, but what was I going to tell her? Well, we buried the cat, at least what we could find of it, tried to live normally. Well, later on that night, I'm sitting up in my room, and I start hearing noises, and I couldn't really place it. I didn't know what was going on. I could just hear noises. So I went out of my bedroom, and I started to walk down the stairs, and I could hear scratching noises, kind of like a cat scratching in a litter box. Of course, the house was dark. My wife had a thing about turning the lights off. I hated it, especially at this moment. I didn't know what it was. So I tiptoed downstairs, just an inch by inch by inch, not knowing what I was going to find. To my surprise, when I got down there, I turned the porch light on, and it sounded like the whole football team was running into each other out there. And I just happened to glance out the window, thinking maybe I'll see one of these creatures again. And to my surprise, one of them was standing there looking at me. Eyeball to eyeball, staring me in the eyes. Of course, I jumped back, not knowing what to do. It slaps the window. I'm thinking it's going to break it, so I run upstairs and grab my wife, call the cops, grab my guns. Cops come out again. They want to arrest me for making a false report. They didn't see anything. I show them everything around the house, and they say, oh, that's just a bear or something. Yeah, okay. I don't know what a bear looks like, I told him. Being a smartass, of course. Why would I know what a bear looks like? I mean, they're just elusive creatures, these bears. Nobody knows what they look like. I'm just seeing shit. Well, that's what I told the officer. I was pissed by this time. I'm seeing this stuff, and these officers are telling me that I'm not. So that tells me that they know something is there. Or why else would they tell you that you're not seeing what you tell them you're seeing? I mean, that's just crazy. Well, weeks turn into more weeks, and stuff keeps happening. Everything, all kinds of stuff is just happening at this point. These creatures are basically torturing me in my own home, and nobody will believe me. What am I supposed to do about it? I mean, there's just too many of them. So I get together with the guys, I tell them about it, and I thought they were going to laugh at me like everybody else, but to my surprise, they were just sitting there nodding. And I said, okay, so what do we do? And they said, nothing. To my surprise, they had problems of their own, and everyone was scared shitless. Okay, guys, that's all for tonight. I know that wasn't a lot of it, but this story goes on and on forever, so we're going to wait till next week. But I hope you enjoyed. Tune in next week for more Dogman encounters and Dogman stories. Sorry about that.